What's up, y'all, man? Welcome to our very first episode of the Choppa stories. I'm gonna jump right into it because I know a lot of you guys have been waiting to hear my story when I was involved in justified homicide. So we're gonna get right into it because I know that you guys read it in the newspapers. A lot of you guys may have seen it on the news. I may have mentioned it briefly. I know I made a song kind of going through the events that night, November 14th. So I'm just gonna start it from the very beginning of the events that led me to being in a DC jail for a homicide and a unregistered firearm. So tell you a little bit about myself. 16 years old. I was doing bodyguard work for dudes on the street, man. 16 years old. I was the youngest bouncer in the city. I was bouncing at nightclubs. Security work for Go-Go's in the city. If you're not familiar with Go-Go's, Go-Go's is a DC sound that we create, and I've been listening to Go-Go all my life. My mama used to take me to school listening to Go-Go, but I don't want to get off track. I want to continue to tell you my story. So as I got older, I kind of built up a team, a protection team. And we protected celebrities, we protected bars, nightclubs, et cetera, some pretty big name. We'll talk about that on another series. This is a particular time a few years ago, 2020, 2019, well, the cannabis industry started booming in the District of Columbia, all right? So what did that mean? That means it was opportunities for everybody, man, including somebody that was in the protection field, like myself. So me and my team, we jumped right on it. I got a couple contracts with some big cats that came in from Denver. They was hosting pop-ups all over the city. And of course, it was way more money. Why? Because it was a bigger risk. Yeah, it was risky, but we all had families to feed, man. Me and my team. So we jumped right on it. We started protecting pop-ups from up Georgia Avenue, on the south side. They started coming on down to the northeast side, and we were making bank. I mean, I had contracts for different pop-ups, and this was a everyday gig, you know, for my team. I had a team size of 10 to 15, you know, good men, and that's been with me since I began. So everything has been going good. You know, we had a couple run-ins. We had, you know, of course, we had dudes trying to, you know, steal stuff off the table. If you don't know what a pop-up is, it's a cannabis event where you can come and shop and, you know, you can get your little bud, whatever. You can get gifted some tree, whatever. They had different types of things. It became normalized in the District of Columbia, where even they had DC off-duty police officers working these events when we just started out. So as time went on, it started getting hectic, man. You know, spots started to get hit. You know, we had a couple run-ins where as though a couple of my guys put their life on the line. They had to get violent. And I want to talk about what led up to that night where the homicide occurred. I'm going to talk about that day. It was November 14th. That was my wife's birthday. A lot of people don't know that. I wasn't even supposed to be working that day, man. We had a beautiful day, man. Took out to breakfast. We had lunch. And that night, we had, I took her to Phillips Seafood. She likes seafood. And we had a good night. Everything was doing well. But I had a first-time pop-up at a new venue right off of Florida Avenue. It was going to be a crowd or clientele I wasn't really familiar with. And I had my team placed there, of course. But I wanted to make sure that, you know, I show face. So I'm dropping my wife off. She's begging me to stay, right? She begging me to stay. And my intuition is like, no, I need to go check on my guys. And her intuition is saying, don't go. something ain't right. Go, it's my birthday. Stay with me on my birthday, you know. So it's like a woman knows, you know, woman intuition is, I feel, is a lot greater than ours, for sure. But I went anyway. I went anyway because I wasn't going to have my men down there, you know, working in unfamiliar territory. And this was the first spot, and me as the leader, me as the owner, me as the man that they look to for guidance and order. I felt like I needed to pop out, right? So I'm driving there. I get there. Everything seems cool, right? Everything's good, good energy. And it starts to get a little late. You know, I stayed there a little longer than I should have. But as vendors, a couple vendors started leaving. Vendors are individuals who set up shop, and they sell merch and they sell other things, you know, to try to, you know, build some capital. And they expect any protection there to have their back. So as one vendor was leaving out, I was going to go ahead and leave out with him. I said, you know what, I've been here long enough. It's time to go. It's my wife's birthday. It's time for me to leave, man. It's time for me to get back home and, you know, continue the birthday. This time it had gotten a little late. I wasn't even going to walk him all the way to his vehicle because he had security with him. He had his own personal bodyguard, which isn't unusual at all. A lot of vendors have their own security because they're carrying loads of cash and they're carrying loads of product, right? So I wasn't going to walk with him. When I went to I just walked to the corner, and their car was like right across the street. They had all their luggage and stuff, and they were walking, and I said, you know what, something don't feel right. Like, I felt it in my spirit. I felt it in my soul, like my stomach. I said, something don't feel right. And so I said, let me go ahead and just walk across the street with him, you know, because what people don't understand is this was my team, right? This was my name. This was my brand. This was everything I've been building since I was 16 years old. If we're hired to protect somebody, that's what we're going to do by any means necessary. This is how I've been feeding my family since I was 16 years old. And I wouldn't expect my men, my soldiers, to put their life on the line, and I'm not putting mine on the line. Strong leadership. I had a strong team, and we ain't do no buckling. So as they're packing up their stuff, they're to their car. I'm right there on the corner. I'm just about to step off to go to my car. Like I'm like, my car's right across the street. I hear a truck. Black truck. I look immediately. Boom! All four doors of the truck hop out in sync. They popped out in sync, man. Ski mask. And real quick, if you're not familiar with the area, this is Florida Avenue. This is U Street. This is a very busy street. So this was indeed shocking. Whereas though I was shocked for like 3 seconds. Ski mask. They had the guns, and they telling me, the vendor, and the vendor had a friend with him, and the vendor had a bodyguard with him. They telling everybody to get on the ground, right? So I'm just observing. All right, it takes me a second, you know, to kind of snap out of it and to make a decision. I knew I had to make one fast, but I'm just visualizing, you know, paying attention to everything. Everything is in slow motion. I see their bodyguard that they hired up the street, ran up the street. True story, man. I never forget that, you know. And I see the other guys, they pretty much like tossed their stuff. You know, they pretty much tossed their stuff, but they were still being pursued. Like, their guns were still on them. And I had one particular youngin', he had his gun on me. He said, man, you think I'm playing? You better get your ass on the ground. I'll never forget it. I don't know these youngins. I don't know if he bluffing. I don't know what he capable of. I don't know how dangerous he is. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I could possibly, lose my life, right? I'm not going to comply to become a victim. And that was just my mindset. It's not about being brave. It's not about, trying to save the day. It wasn't about that. It was an instinct that set off inside of me like a fight or flight, because I wasn't getting on the ground. If I would have ran, I could potentially got shot in the back. Some people comply, get on the ground, get all their stuff tugging, and still get popped. So my only option was to eliminate the threat, or threats, because there were 4 gunmen at the time. So literally counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I see like where I can kind of take quick cover for, whereas though if he let off a shot, I can kind of have something to protect me. So I took like 2 steps and ducked down, and I eliminated the threat. Let off about 8, 9 rounds. So at that time, man, it was explosive. It was a couple rounds fired back at me. I remember getting into my car, man. My guys came outside. They're like, "Mark, you good? You good?" I'm like, I'm checking myself. I'm like, I'm good, I'm worried about y'all. I said, we need to get up out of here. So they still had vendors inside. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna wait right here around the corner, and just make sure y'all get the vendors out, and I'll make sure y'all get out. Because like I said, you don't know what somebody's capable of. I don't know these dudes. To me, they look like SEAL Team 6 hopping out of a truck, man. They look extremely armed and dangerous, and that's what they were. So I'm waiting around. They calling me. I'm getting calls from the person that was hosting the event, like, "Yo, you need to get out of there." I said, "I'm not leaving my men. I'm not leaving my men." I like at that time it was like it was a war, because I don't know if they were still like right there. I didn't know who got dropped, and who didn't. Right, so I remember like finally leaving, because everybody telling me, "Man, you need to go. I'm hearing the sirens. I'm hearing things." So I stepped. So I texted the team my location. I went to a bar like right up the street, but it was far enough where as though I can just be off the scene. So I went into the bar, had a drink, and we're gonna stop here. Thank you for tuning in to part 1. I'm going to drop part 2 in a couple of days, man. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like, comment the video. I appreciate the love. And I definitely want to talk to you about how I felt after what the trials and tribulations I've been through concerning this situation. And I just want to take the opportunity to say, in the closing out this episode, was like, your journey is your journey. Some things out of your hand, and you got to continue to be faithful. You got to continue to be strong, and you got to always believe that there's a greater purpose for you. I'm gonna finish this episode with that. Now stay dangerous, be smart.